Hey friends, so as promised, we're going to work a little bit more with rounding numbers. So at this point, we're still on Unit 1, Lesson 5, and we have worked on rounding to the nearest 10 and I think maybe the 100. So we've been working mainly with the whole numbers, and you had some practice that you were supposed to do. And so I know that you can check your numbers, your answers there. But let's look at rounding of decimal numbers. Rounding of decimal numbers. Rounding decimal numbers. So the steps for rounding decimal numbers are the same as for whole numbers, with one important difference. Instead of replacing all the digits to the right of the rounding number with zeros, these digits can just be dropped. So the only difference is drop the zeros to the right. And I kind of briefly talked about that in our last video, but I didn't really go into detail on it. So for instance, if we have the decimal 7 and 13 hundredths, and it's asking us to round to the nearest tenth, then what we're going to do is go ahead and make our place value chart, because you know me and my place value charts. Okay, here are our ones, here are our tenths, here are our hundredths. I probably should enunciate that. Here are our hundredths. So it's asking us to round to the nearest tenth. So this is the place value we're rounding to. And then we have to look to the place value to the right. So in 7.13, 3 is the number that helps us decide, are we going to stay at 1 or raise to 2. Just like with whole numbers, a number line helps us see. We have 7.1 and 7.2. These are the 2 tenths that 7.13 comes between. So 7.15 is exactly in the middle. 7.13, if we're counting, we say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up, right? So 7.11, 7.12, 7.13, 7.14, 7.15, 7.16, 7.17, 7.18, 7.19, 7.20. Okay, so keep that in mind. It's 7.1, 7.11, 7.12, 7.13, 7.14, 7.15, 7.16, and we would keep going. So here's our tenth, and here is 7.13. So this 3 is lower than a 4, which means that it is closer to 7.1. We would round to 7.1. You can make a number line. You can do a place value chart and just do it without making a number line. You can write out the numbers and see where it's closest to. Whatever is going to help you use that strategy. Okay, so for instance, 7.58. Rounded to the nearest tenth. If I was going to use a place value chart, this is what it would look like. Ones, tenths, hundredths. I'm going to look at the tenths because this is the place value we're rounding to. The number to the right is the place value we're using to make a decision. 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, raise the score. Well, it is definitely more than 5. So 7.58 comes between 7.5 and 7.6. So we're going to raise this score to 7.6 because this 8 is 5 or more. The way this would look on a number line if you chose to use a number line to solve it. Again, you're going to have your numbers listed right here. The first tenth is going to be the one that's in our number, which is 7.5. The next tenth, which is one up, is going to be 7.6. In the middle of 7.5 and 7.6 is 7.55. So now we put in all of our numbers. So this is 7.51, 7.52. I'm not making my spaces very big there, sorry. 7.53, 7.54, 7.56, 7.57, 7.58, and 7.59, and then that leads us to 7.6. Now, notice I did not sit here and say 7 5/10, 7 51/100, 7 52/100, 7 53/100, 7 54/100, but that's really what it is. When you look at this, this is a 50, this is a 60, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. When we mark off where 7 59/100 is, it's here. Is it, which one's the shorter distance? From here to here, so we are rounding to 7.6. Now, if you go past the alligator eggs, it's going to have you answer the following questions. So it says, if the number to the right of the rounding number is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, the rounding number is it replaced by a 0? Does it stay the same? Or is it rounded up by 1? If the number to the right of the rounding number is 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, the rounding number is replaced by 0, left the same, or rounded up by 1. So, remember our rules. 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, raise the score. If we have a whole number, everything to the right is replaced with 0, but not the rounding number. So it says, what happens to the rounding number? Well, if it's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, the rounding number stays the same. So let's look at this. Round to the nearest tenth. This is the place value we're going to round. This is what we're going to look for. Our number is 2. Our 5 stays where it is, decimal point 5. So it's left the same, or it stays the same. As you go on and go through these questions, be careful in your reading. Make sure you understand what the question is asking. If you have questions or you need help, please come and see me. Thanks. Bye.